Hello everyone, and welcome to a new, very special episode of Star Toys Video. This video is coming out today, May 4th, also known as May the 4th, also known as Star Wars Day. So I thought it would be really fun to do a different video, which is a top 10, but also a top 10 video of my top 10 favorite Black Series figures in my collection. So what I went ahead and did is I went through my walls and I collected the top 10 figures that are my personal favorites. And what I want to do is, rather than saying, you know, the sculpt is great or I think it's a great representation of the figure, I just kind of want to talk about why that figure is my top whatever. So there's no particular order of, 1 through 10. These are all equally a number one in my eyes. They're all my top 10 favorite figures. So I thought it'd be a really fun way just to celebrate Star Wars Day, to just show off some of my favorite figures and share that with you guys. So please enjoy the video. Don't forget to leave a like. We are on our way to 50 subscribers. Once we do that, I do have a giveaway for that. In addition, we're still working on that 100 giveaway for the Mandalorian carded figure. So feel free to like and subscribe, share this video with your friends, and let's get started. All right, so before we get started, I wanted to show 4 honorable mentions. So these 4 figures in particular are honorable mentions because I really like them, but there are some reasons they were more of my top 10 figures of the year or something of that nature that were, close to getting into my top 10 of my collection when I was going through the list, but I just had some weird reasons, I guess, for not putting them directly in that. So to just kind of give some reasoning why these figures are still part of my favorites, I thought I would just answer that really fast. So I'll start off with just the Stormtrooper. It's a Stormtrooper. It's an army builder. A lot of my collection is an army. It's, First Order troopers. It's Stormtroopers. It's different variations of clones. It's different variations of Stormtroopers. And I love this new mold. I really do think the new Stormtrooper figure is a fantastic figure. I think it's a great mold altogether. The articulation is fantastic, and I just like it. I just love having it in my collection, and it brings me back to, the old days of, having a bunch of Stormtroopers in my collection as a kid and having them, and they're so iconic, right? My first Black Series helmet was the traditional Stormtrooper helmet. I have Stormtrooper pops, other figures in my collection of Stormtroopers, Legos, and every time I think of, Star Wars as a kid, it was always kind of, troopers. And I used to actually exclusively, I've said this in past videos, collect only trooper variations for my 3/4 inch collection. So really a personal favorite and something that I was like, you know what, I have to at least include this variation of the traditional Stormtrooper in the video. Next up, you have the Yavin Luke ceremony, but also this is more of the Skywalker Strikes version. The reason I put him in is the comic, Star Wars comic, I started collecting actually in Disneyland. It was during my honeymoon. And because of that, I have a really strong connection to that Star Wars comic line, and I still continue to collect it. And when they created that figure, and now they're creating these other comic figures, I've kind of just fell in love with this look for Luke. I did purchase the Yavin Luke 3/4 inch figure, opened him, put him on the shelf with a lightsaber just to have that representation also in my 3/4 collection. And he's just one of my personal favorites just because of that connection there. And it always reminds me of my honeymoon and the time that my wife and I spent in Disneyland and collecting the first couple issues of the comic when we would go to different stores. And at first I was like, oh, I don't need it. And then I would, get 1 and 2, and then I'd read them and like, oh, I got to finish the story. So then we go back and I would get 4, 5, and 6. So a great time, and I really love this figure and the look that it has. Next up is the Mando, just because I really feel my passion and love for Star Wars was so strongly invigorated again, the same way it was when The Force Awakens came out, when The Mandalorian came out. I'm one of the few individuals, and I've again said this on prior videos, that really enjoyed the sequels. I agree they have their flaws, they have their issues that I'm not 100% happy with. But as a whole, I really did enjoy them. I think we had a fantastic villain come out of them. And then, the fact that we got more Star Wars is always just great, right? We can't complain about that. But The Mandalorian really was kind of a return to form with traditional Star Wars storytelling. And I just love what Jon Favreau and the group is doing there. it's just amazing. And it really, you know, makes me just so excited for what is going to come more with the story now that Grogu is going with Luke. And that last season 2 ending was just so great. I just love it. And I love the Mandalorian figures that we're getting. So Mando had to be on this list. He's not one of my personal favorites. You know, I love this figure. I think this is a great figure, but I was like, you know, I don't think it's something that I want to put on my top 10. So next up, I have Captain Cardinal. And the reason that I have Cardinal on this list, and I said this in my top 10 figures, is I actually really loved the Phasma book, and I loved Captain Cardinal as a figure. And he was actually constantly on my list of, man, I really hope they make Captain Cardinal a action figure. And when the rumor came out that he was, I was pumped. I did buy the Black Series helmet for him. I have the figure. I'm a huge fanboy for Captain Cardinal. I think he's just such an awesome character. I really liked him in the book. I wish we'd get more media from him, like a comic or something of that nature, to kind of learn more about his like early years in the First Order before, you know, Phasma kind of took over his position. And the one thing I do wish about this figure, I wish the helmet was removable so you can see his like pale complexion, and the way that they described him in the book was so well done. But I think, you know, the figure itself is so cool. It's cool having, you know, him, Phasma, and Pyre all together on the shelf and kind of that cool contrast. So Cardinal is one of my personal favorites, and he is definitely an honorable mention for this year. All right, everyone. So this is the main event. These are my top 10 favorite Black Series figures currently. This list I feel like will probably change year from year. But currently these are the top 10 figures in my collection. When I kind of look at my collection as a whole, and think about the figures that I like the most, I always kind of gravitate towards these ones. And a lot of these, again, were on top 10 list, or have been, you know, featured before. And what I wanted to do, like I said, is kind of just go through each figure and kind of just give a little explanation as to why I have them on this list. So no particular order. Again, I'm going to start in the back here with the Mountain Trooper. So I'll put them front and center, and I'll just do a little talk about them. So the reason I have the Mountain Trooper on this list is, again, kind of going back to the Galaxy's Edge and the Disneyland. I haven't actually been to Galaxy's Edge yet, but when they announced the 3-pack with Commander Pyre, and he was my first custom, and they showed off this new trooper, I was just so excited for, you know, how they were kind of creating these new designs for troopers. And I love this gun. I think he just has such a cool look. It's like a shore trooper for the First Order. And I just love the idea of like a mountain trooper, like an urban trooper for the First Order. And I think it's just a really cool design. It's a really cool figure. I bought 2 more when they came out in single packs, just to have a small little platoon of them. And I love them. I think it just looks cool. It's a cool looking figure. It reminds me of Disneyland. So every time I look at him, I just kind of think, man, I want to go back. And, you know, I really enjoy this figure, and I can't wait to go to Disneyland and possibly pick up 3 more of them. Next up, I am going to jump over to the Mud Trooper. This was probably my favorite figure out of the Solo wave. I just personally really love the look of the Mud Trooper. It kind of reminds me of like a World War I kind of flame trooper type of deal going on with the armor, and how he's still wearing like his normal Imperial uniform, but he has kind of like this kind of like machine gun where he's holding like, you know, the stand there. And I just really love this figure. I did buy 2 of these. I wanted to buy more, but I was like, you know, like there's just something about the feet that annoy me, and I want to get a soft goods cape, because I do not like this plastic cape. But the figure itself, I constantly just love just posing and just playing with. I just wish we would get more, you know, different variations. I know I've seen some really cool customs with this figure where they've given them like ammo packs and things like that. So I would love to see something done more with these figures, because I think the trooper idea was really cool. I love the fact that it could just be a Han Solo if you wanted it to, so you can take off the mask and there's Han's face. I think that's so cool, rather than it just being like a helmet that is just glued on there and there's nothing you can do with it. So a really cool figure, and it's just my favorite out of the Solo figures that we did receive. And it always just has something that I'm always like, you know what, I want more variations of a Mud Trooper, and I would love to see, you know, that figure continued. I'm going to keep on the Trooper train for now. And next up is the Flame Trooper. So personally, I know I mentioned the Stormtrooper was my favorite runner-up, but I think I love this Flame Trooper more personally than the Stormtrooper. I just love the red markings. I love the Pelderon. I love the tank that he comes with, the accessory, the flame effect that you can put on the flamethrower as well. He's just overall just such a cool figure, and again, it's going back to the same reason why I love the Mountain Trooper so much, is that, you know, the Star Wars universe is somewhere that you can just create new things, and they took something so basic that was already existing in that universe and just made it look so much cooler. And he just looks so awesome, and I'm hoping that we get the Mortar Trooper with that kind of like yellow-orange with the same mold, and it's literally just the same. All they need to do is just add different color. So it's a really easy repaint, and I just love it. I just really like having the Flame Trooper on the shelf, and I was so happy when I got one. I ended up buying 2 of them just because I didn't want to miss out on not having one. But I think they're just such a cool figure, and again, I just, out of all the Mandalorian figures, I think he's my favorite, which is so crazy because there's so many great figures that we've gotten. The new Stormtrooper mold, the Mando himself, you know, the Armorer, the Heavy Mando, and I just really just love the Flame Trooper. I just think he's such a great figure, and I really hope they do more again with the mold like they did with the previous Stormtrooper mold. I think it's a great mold, and they need to utilize it more. Next up, I'm going to jump over here to Dagobah Luke. So Empire Strikes Back. Oh, sorry. Empire Strikes Back is actually my favorite movie, Star Wars movie, and movie actually. And so I loved the whole scene when Luke was on Dagobah training with Yoda. I think it's just a very, like, I don't want to, you know, sound weird, but I think it was just a very it's a very just strong moment, right, between a master and an apprentice type of situation where Luke wants to give up, and Yoda kind of gives him this knowledge of, look, you don't have to be tall, you don't have to be the biggest in the room, you can be yourself, and there's incredible things that you can do. And, you know, taking that as a kid and then moving on with that in your life, it's something that you think about. And I love this figure. I think they did such a great job on the mold and the sculpt, and then the little basket that you can put Yoda in, and the little heads that he comes with. I think this is a deluxe figure done right. All the extra accessories that you get 2 figures with him. I think it's just such a great, cool figure, and I love the extra hands, so you can make him like reaching out with the Force. I'm excited to see that they redid this mold too with the comic Luke, but I know that people are kind of pissed off about that, but I think this is a great Dagobah. The Dagobah Luke, I think, is a great mold altogether, so I'm really excited to see, you know, what that figure's like and how it all works. But this is one of my favorite figures, mainly just because I love that scene, and I just really have a good connection to that whole whole story there. Next up, I'm going to go with the Shock Trooper of the Coruscant Guard. So this is actually my favorite Clone Trooper variation. I have him in 3/4 inch. I tempted to buy the new hot toy that's coming out. I love the Coruscant Guard. I just think the Shock Trooper look, as I call it, because it is the same on the Stormtrooper, and I was actually debating on that one or this one, but I love the Clone Trooper look a little bit better. Is my favorite look. It's just so iconic, and it's like you barely even see it in the movie. A little bit more in the Clone Wars, but since, as I've stated, I feel like I've said that a lot in this video. As I stated before, I wasn't really a big Clone Wars watcher, but I love the Shock Trooper, and I just think there's such a cool trooper look that I want them to make this one in the new mold, because I want like 20 of them. So I'm really hoping that they do give us that, and since season 7 had these guys with those like Electo staffs, I'm hoping that they do that with like a Maul. That would be really cool. That would be a cool like Star Wars Celebration pack. Just saying, Hasbro, if you're listening. Next up is the new Boba Fett. I fell in love with this figure the day I opened it. I bought 2 of them, just so I can have multiple, because I love the figure so much. I think he's just a really well-designed figure. I think he looks cool. He, you know, he has a lot going on for him with the different accessories. Again, this is a deluxe figure done right, which you give us a lot of accessories. You give us lots of fun stuff. I was watching actually another content creator's video, and he mentioned... All right, sorry about that. The camera stopped recording. But the reason I love the Boba Fett so much is mainly because of the all right, sorry, ran out of space on my iPhone, surprisingly. But the reason that I put Boba Fett on this list is, again, because of the stand. He should have had a stand, but I love the design of this figure. I love the articulation. I just think he's such a mysterious character, and they really did a great job of kind of recapturing that with this figure, and I just love it so much. I love the way that the presence has on the shelf. And I'm really hoping that they use this mold to make us a Mandalorian Boba Fett and a Cobb Vanth, because Cobb Vanth is badass and we need more. But yeah, Boba Fett is a fantastic character, and they did him a lot of justice there. Next up is this Kylo Ren. So I have the normal Kylo Ren actually in the box, and this is actually my first Black Series figure that I collected of the new collection. And Kylo Ren was actually the hardest figure for me to find, and I found him at Walgreens one morning when I went to go get medicine, believe it or not. And Kylo Ren was my favorite character of the sequel trilogy, and I have pretty much every figure of Kylo Ren that they've made in every line from Hasbro. And the reason that I have this figure, so the night I went to go get my for the original Force Friday, Kylo Ren was sold out, and I wasn't able to get him. And I was so bummed, and my wife was bummed for me. And then after that, I was like, I'm going to find this guy. And I found him at Walgreens alongside this guy, my first Stormtrooper for the First Order. And I kept these guys now in their packaging because it's always a reminder of my favorite characters and how, my hunt for them was not something that I just gave up on. And I love Kylo Ren. I, again, think he's a great character, and the figure looks awesome too. Next up is Vader. I don't think I need to say much. Vader is my favorite Star Wars character, period. So having him in the collection is just, I have all the Vaders that they've made, the original Blue Series one, this Empire Strikes Back one, the Rogue One. This one is my favorite. I think this is the definitive version. I do feel like the cape is a little big, but that's no big deal. And I wish they would make a Vader that came with different hands. I wish we get a deluxe for Return of the Jedi rather than just like a normal remake where you can like take off his helmet, and maybe they give you one where you can take off his hand and like get some battle damage. That would be really cool. And now that I talk about it, I really hope they do that, because I love Vader, and I think he's such a great character. He's so iconic, and I just love this figure. I have 2 of the Empire Strikes Back one with my Empire Strikes Back figures, and then one with just the Empire with the Emperor. And I really just like this figure a lot, and I really want to see what they do for the Return of the Jedi, because I'm hoping that they make something cool with that, and the way that they really updated this figure to go with the Empire Strikes Back look. I'm hoping that they do something really nice for the Return of the Jedi with like a removable helmet, but it's not as, something janky, and that they do a really nice job with the design on that. So we'll see what happens. I have faith in Hasbro based off the most recent stuff that they've been providing us with. I have no doubt in my mind that they are going to provide us with something cool. Next up is Thrawn. Thrawn was one of my personal favorite characters of Rebels. I did read the original book, The Heir to the Empire, and then the Thrawn trilogy, the Thrawn Alliance and Treason. Haven't started Ascendancy trilogy yet. I just got the second book, but Thrawn is one of my favorite characters. He's probably one of the most intimidating villains that there's ever been, and this is the newer one. I do have the older version too. He's just such an intimidating character, and I love everything about him. I did buy the older comics too, so I can read up on his story, because I wanted to learn everything there is to know about Thrawn, because I just think he's such a cool character. Like, the book made him just so much more fleshed out, and just learning more about him and his background and the strategies that he takes is just so interesting. And I love having a Thrawn figure in the collection, and having two is just even better. So I have one for my Rebels, and then when they have the comic pack with the Luke come out, I can put him with Luke. And finally, my last figure here is Qui-Gon Jinn. So I was born in the 90s, so my introduction to Star Wars was primarily Phantom Menace. And growing up, my favorite color was green. So when Qui-Gon Jinn ignited a green lightsaber, I immediately knew that was my favorite character. And it did not disappoint until the end of the movie when he died. But, you know, I always loved Qui-Gon Jinn. I thought he was a great character. I read the book Master and Apprentice, and I liked how it fleshed out a little bit more about his background as a character and why he questioned the council so much. But Qui-Gon Jinn is one of my favorite characters, and I was so excited to get him on the card back, but also I have his original figure. So Qui-Gon is just such an awesome character, and he's just, I don't know, it's just something about like his presence, and Liam Neeson did such a great job portraying the character in The Phantom Menace. So Qui-Gon, you are one of my favorite characters, if not one of my personal. All right, so that is my top 10 Black Series figures of all time, for now, whatever we want to call it. Like I said, I'm sure it will change when new figures come out of my favorite characters or other characters that I haven't yet realized that I need in figure form. So I want to thank you all for watching this video. Happy May the 4th. I hope you've liked the other video that I made recently of my April haul. A lot of great stuff coming out, a lot of great stuff coming today. I recorded this early, so I don't know what the news is. I know we're going to get some new pre-orders of some new stuff, so hopefully our wallets aren't hurting too bad. But I want to thank you all for your support. Please like and subscribe. Road to 50, road to 100. I really want to give this guy away. He's starting to just take on some dust on the shelf, so he can be yours, and he does come in this the star case as well if you do win him. So thank you everyone for your support on the channel, and may the force be with you all always.